Hi and welcome to my beginner's guide to Roguebook. I'm Icon and this video will guide you through the basic gameplay loop of this wonderful roguelite deck builder game. I'm going to talk about combat, exploration, drafting, perk progression, crafting, and last but not least also about meta progression. After this video you should be able to decide if you want to play that game, and you should also be able to conquer the game on your own. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, so don't expect any too fleshed out strategies inside here. This video is more about showing you the ropes, how it's supposed to be played. Alright, so first off, the main goal of this game is we play heroes that are trapped inside a magical book, and we want to escape from that. This book is called Roguebook. Sounds familiar, huh? So to do so, we have ink to explore the world, and we have to draw the map around us to explore it. The goal of each level is to reach the end of the chapter, which is up there, and slay the boss and get into the next level. We're going to start out with a battle because combat makes up like at least 50 to 75% of the game. And then I'm going to talk about the other aspects of this game. So a normal battle, let's ensue that and let's go. So players of similar games like Slay the Spire or such will be familiar to these things, but I'm going to go over it for people who are playing this kind of game for the first time. So here's our hand. That's the amount of cards that we have available for this turn. This is the amount of energy we have, 3 energy. You see here the costs of every card. And also we see here how many cards are still to be drawn in our pile, and these are discarded cards and dissolved cards. We're going to talk about these later. This is our enemy and these are our dudes. That's our hit points. After these go to 0, our character will die and needs to be resurrected. And well, for our guy Cypher here, there's also his rage bar, but this is not too important. Over here we see what our enemy is up to, and well, he wants to block and use a debuff. In situations like these we get to attack as hard as we can. So the special thing about this game is that you have cards that are linked to a certain character. These grayish white cards are all moves that are executed by Shara, and the red cards are moves that are executed by Cypher. They both share the same energy pool, and they share the block pool. So if I use a block card for one character, it blocks for both of them. When we see the energy costs here, there's also sometimes this yellow icon around the card, around the cost of the card. This means that when we use this card, it will move the hero in front of the formation. This can be very important for lots and lots of different effects, but most importantly, the frontmost character will be attacked by the enemies first. For example, Shara receives extra power when she's leading, so she wants to be in front of the formation, but since her HP are pretty low, she wants to be not in front of the formation at the end of the turn. So we can go for this other move from Cypher, which will send him up ahead again, and there we go. So these are the utmost basics. Cards have different effects, and we're going to talk about that now. If you're wondering what the heck I'm doing here. So cards have their effects written down here. Attack for 7, gain 6 block. It's all pretty straightforward, and the main goal should be that you try to mitigate as much damage from the enemy as possible and try to beat him down at the same time, of course. Don't you worry too much about getting wounded per turn. Your HP will not be recovered to full after each fight. They will be only recovered at the end of each chapter, when you've slain the boss of each level. So we're going to block here once, and we're going to attack this guy a little bit because we don't have too much to do. Here we see we're taking some damage, and Cypher gains rage whenever he's getting damaged, and his cards get empowered when his rage bar is full, just so you know. So this is a very basic fight. We're going to defend one more time and use the extra damage on Shara when she's leading. And this is your basic gameplay routine. At the beginning of each run, you only have very basic cards. Shara starts with Lunge, a attack which puts her in front, and Cypher starts with the Absorb Soul skill, which lets him go up front and reap the enemy. Reap, well, every term gets explained in the tooltips, so you don't need to memorize them all at the beginning. Here we see we get an extra healing when we kill the enemy with that attack. Since there's sadly still a little bit damage needed to be done, we're going to do this like that. And then we can't kill this guy. Every icon in the game can be mouse-overed for useful informations, so use that. For example, we see here the aura of weakness is debuffing the frontmost character. So at the end of the fight, trying to take down the enemy here with this skill and recover some of that damage we suffered. So you should always try to utilize the cards of your characters as much as possible. We gain after each fight a little bit of gold and guaranteed some ink. So these were the utmost basics of combat. It's really important that you try to take advantage of the cards of your characters. To do this better than we saw it just here, because this was very, very basic, we get to draft cards at Walls of Wisdom. Walls of Wisdom want 25 gold from you, and you get to select a new card here. You can skip out if you don't want to expand your deck too much, or you select one of these three. I'm going to select the Horsemaster card because this one features allies. This is a mechanism that I definitely want to explain, because this is one very, very unique and cool mechanism of the game. Every chapter also features Nadim the Trader, where you can spend your money for cards, artifacts, which can be either equipped to your characters or to your party, and gems, which can be crafted onto cards. In this scenario, for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to buy a gem so I can show you the crafting system. Artifacts need to be either equipped on a hero, and some of them are working for the entire team. So for example here, the quill, whenever I consume an ink, I reveal an extra adjacent tile at random. This is one that would go into this slot here. And the Bloodfire Mask, the equipped hero, for the first time the equipped hero takes damage each battle, draw a card and gain energy. This will be equipped to a certain hero. You need to adapt these effects to your strategy. Speaking about strategy, when you draft cards, it's highly recommendable that you try to pick pieces that somehow fit together. That means try to specialize into strategies. If you like, for example, allies, try to draft as many allies as possible in one run. If you like to work with cheap attacks, try to allocate these and try to draft cards that empower your cheap attacks. It's really important that while drafting you try to follow some strategy, but don't nail yourself too hard down on a certain strategy because you don't know what you will draft in the next few chests. That's where this game is really... This is maybe the most demanding part about the game in general, and it's best learned by doing, and it's a lot of fun to do so. Okay. So, crafting can be done over here. We bought a gem, and as you see here, every card has gem sockets. And this one will enhance the card by reducing the costs by 1 and forcing me to discard a random card when I'm playing it. So this, well, let's put it onto the Absorb Soul, select the card, select the gem, press craft, done. So this is how you craft cards in this game, or enhance cards, and there's tons of different gems in this game to be discovered. It's real fun, and you can personalize and adapt your strategies a lot with these. So let's get another Vault of Wisdom here. Oh, I'm out of gold, so we're going to check that out here. These red crossed swords are elite enemies. These are always especially difficult enemies, and they give you a free brush per fight. Let's talk about exploration while we're at it. Brushes are working like this. They discover everything around you here. As you see here below the feet of your main character, the number depicts how many tiles you would uncover with that. These darkened tiles are impassable tiles, which your heroes can't move across, and there's on the other side specialized ink. For example, the precision ink reveals one space anywhere on the map. This is really good to close little bridges like that here. So I could use this ink now to open up the path and don't waste other resources. The goal of the exploration minigame here is to allocate as many resources and uncover as much of the map as possible with the given resources. And I can tell you, it's a lot of fun. Here we find a radiant heart. We can consume that to heal our heroes. And another thing worth mentioning are the sky towers. They are like super brushes. And here we now gathered a lot of resources. The hearts stack on top of each other, so as you see here. But they can't be used in combat. You have to use them out of combat. Also, these slots here are limited, so you can't pick up as many items as you want to. So now we're going to draft a couple of cards extra, and let's see what we can do here. So we have all manner of different options. I want to talk a little bit about the options in general to give you a better picture. Cards are I personally sort cards into 3 categories: attacks, defensive cards, and utility cards. And as we see here, Flame Lick is definitely an attack, and it gives you a card draw, which is for me a utility effect. Drawing cards is super powerful because the more cards you draw, the more options you have to answer to your enemy's threats. Same goes for energy. Dissolving a card makes the card unplayable for the rest of the combat, and you gain 2 energy for dissolving a card. This is also a utility effect, but very worth mentioning together with the card draw. Energy is worthless without cards in your hand. These 2 effects go well together and are, for me, among the most important utility effects. Here we have also the kickflip, which is, well, a very powerful attack and a very conditional card. So sometimes cards are very conditional. Shara can only do this attack if she's leading, but it deals a whopping amount of 15 damage for 1 energy, and it's putting her back into the back row again. Really desirable. I'm going to pick up this one. So as you go through the cards and draft your selections every turn, every run, you will always find some ideas to follow, and I can only encourage you to experiment what you can, because it's not the goal to beat this game quickly. You will get beaten by the game quite often, and the more you experiment, the quicker you get better at this game. So we're going to pick up this other ally, and I'm going to explain it once we use it. So we drafted us a set of cards, and let's use this Rune of Sight. This Rune of Sight is also a pretty nifty thing. It uncovers things on the map. And on the map, hidden are all manner of different things. For example, here we have a gemstone, where we get a free gem. Allies gain spirit. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a sec, but let's slot that onto our Horsemaster, because the Horsemaster is an ally. If a gem can't be socketed into a card because it's incompatible, the game will tell you if you try. So there's you need not to be worried to break something or mess yourself up. So also on the map are sometimes things like just an artifact. We see here, whenever the equipped hero plays a card that costs 2 or more, we deal 2 damage to all enemies. So this one goes well into the hands of Cypher. With these items, you can also give yourself a direction to draft into, because they are often giving you good ideas of things that you want to specialize into. Like, for example, now this Ogre Toe could give me a good reason to start drafting more heavy attacks for Cypher. So here I'm trying to draft as many cards as possible before I go into the next fight. So whenever the heroes play a card, decrease the cost of Windstorm Colossus by 1, as you see. There's also really exotic cards like this dude costing 12 energy, almost impossible to play at the beginning. But we're going to pick this one here. That's what I was waiting for. So a talent tier has been unlocked. The game also features talents. Talents get unlocked when your card pile exceeds a certain amount of cards, which is really cool because that motivates you to pick a larger deck. And this is a double-edged sword, because the more cards in your deck, the less reliable certain cards get drawn per turn, but on the other hand, your deck gains more variation. I'd personally recommend you, when you're starting out, try to not draft very much more cards than you get talents for. After that, it's never a shame to skimp out on a card selection if all the offered cards are really meh for your build. Okay, but let's get into the talents. Talents are working like that. You can always only pick one of them. We see here one for Cypher. He gains rage when he's leading at the end of the turn. Shara can gain power when she's getting damaged. Or the party effect, we gain 1 energy and draw a card at the start of each battle. As you see, these effects are always aimed to a certain character, and there's party effects, which are just giving your party bonuses. Which traits you get here is random for each run. So Shara won't get take cover in the next run I play. Cypher won't get face-to-face in the next run. Maybe. There's a couple of selections for each tier that can pop up. So in this scenario, I really like this effect because it's a very flexible and versatile thing, and I personally value the first turn of a combat very, very much, because I think a lot of the success of your fight is already being decided in the first turn. So here we are now at our next fight. We see the enemies are attacking us for a lot of damage, and they are quite low HP. The last guy is stealthed. Stealth people can't be attacked until they are the last man standing, and this thing is summoning more enemies at the end of each turn. It can do that 3 times, and it's really, really important that you check out your enemies before you fight, especially if you don't know them. Really, it's very, very important. You can destroy yourself really easily if you don't. Okay, let's put Shara up front with the defense, because she deals a lot more damage if she does so. And we're going to use now the kickflip to destroy one of these dudes. And beyond that, I'm just going to spam out more defenses, because we can't do really much about this situation right now. So we're blocking out the enemies, all no problem. And he's now summoning more dudes. That's what we're expecting. So here's our first ally card, the Outlaw. The Outlaw is a so-called spiritless card, and at the start of each turn he adds a dagger to my hand. Here we go. A dagger card is just an attack that can be used by Shara, and it's just an attack for 2, and it stacks, which means if I have 5 daggers on my hand, I can store them on top of each other. And this ally just does that. A spiritless ally does not use spirit. Spirit is something like the attack rating of your allies, and if your allies can actually fight for you, they use spirit. But we're going to demonstrate that in a second. I'm going to send Cypher up front, because Cypher's enrage attribute makes it always a favorable thing to let him get wounded. And this fight, for example, can be totally dominated by AoE attacks. So now we have the Horsemaster, the other form of ally. Down here you see your allies, and they are like your minions in combat. Enemies never will attack your allies. They will not touch them. So as we see here, the Horsemaster is a aggressive ally. Aggressive allies attack the frontmost enemy every turn, at the end of each turn, for the amount of their spirit. There are all manner of different allies. Some attack all enemies, they have all manner of different effects. The Horsemaster can be activated to swap the heroes, and he lose 1 spirit for that, which can be at times really, really powerful. So we're going to take care of that situation now. Use the lunge to put Shara up front. Throw a dagger, and just accept that we have to suffer through some damage. But I don't want Shara to be wounded, so I'm using the Horsemaster and swap this guy back. It's not really a smart turn, but I wanted to demonstrate how the Horsemaster works. Right now, Cypher is suffering from vulnerability, and it would have been smarter to keep her in front, but it was for the demonstration effects. So as we see here, Cypher is now angry, and his cards, some of his cards get extra effects here. For example, Absorb Soul transforms into a much stronger version of itself. That's his personal specialty. For this now, we have now the Windstorm Colossus available, a aggressive ally with a weapon amount of 12 spirit, so he'll deal 12 damage per turn, which is quite a lot to be honest. So let's put Shara up front again. Dagger, strike, defense, and the Windstorm Colossus is for free now. There we go. And now we got the situation under control. Of course, standard fights on the floor aren't that difficult. These are supposed to be the easiest fights in every situation. And elite fights are really something else. With elite fights, you should always try to finish the fight as quick as possible. Well, in general, you should try to finish the fight as quick as possible. But elite enemies often feature mechanisms which force you to finish the fight quickly. And that's the last piece of advice towards drafting for this tutorial. Try to keep your decks as quick as possible and as scaling as possible. Like, you want to be as quick as you can and as slow and ramping up as possible, which means if you can't bust your enemies down quickly, that's fine, but you should try to find a middle point in terms of quickness and hard hits. It's really not easy to pull that off, and the best way to do that is keep experimenting. And apart from that, there's also meta progression, but to do this, we'll have to drop this run, because this happens outside of the game. After each party, you gain experience for your heroes, which lets them unlock new cards for themselves. And in between each run, you find pages of the Roguebook. These can be used to unlock all manner of meta progress things. For example, I have here extra treasures already unlocked. I have a Faria well unlocked, which appears on the world map, which gives me free energy per turn, a massive upgrade. And here we have additional hearts per chapter. We have buffs for the starting life of our heroes. A lot of specialization can be done, and the game gets progressively easier if you unlock these things, but the more often you beat the game, you unlock new difficulty tiers, and therefore it's a constant struggle between you going back and forth between the difficulty and unlocking new challenges. Ideally, you want to play always at a point where you can't get destroyed. The only thing that I didn't manage to find in this run so far were event cards. I want to lose a few words about event cards. These are really powerful enemies, sometimes really cool items for free. Just experiment around with them, but be warned, sometimes you can spawn a very unfair and devastating combat on yourself, or get super artifacts for free. You never know what's there. It's a scroll on the floor if you find one. Enjoy. Okay, so that sums up the basic beginner's guide for Roguebook. I hope this was helpful for you and gave you either an impression if you want to play the game or not, or helped you out if you were a bit lost in the book. Feel free to drop your comment down below if you have any questions. Ask away. I'd be more than happy to answer. Leave a thumbs up on that video if you found that helpful, and of course, feel free to check out my channel. I do daily content, so subscribe. Turn on those notifications and you won't miss anything in the future. Also, down there in the description, you'll find my Twitch channel where I do daily streams, so if you want to get in touch, it would be really awesome. And last but not least, check out my link stuff down there. If you want to leave a tip or reach out a helping hand in any other way, I'd be more than grateful. Alright, enough of the advertisement. I hope you had a great time with this video, and I hope you're going to have a lot of fun with your games in the future. See you soon, and goodbye.